when it comes to strength and conditioning coaches developing a personal brand. Actually, last week I was at La Trobe University's networking night, and this was one of the key topics, both from the students that attended the night in terms of questions asked, but also it was one of the key topics from those that hosted the night. And making sure there was a framework and also some advice around what current sports science students need to be doing to develop their brand while they're studying, and more importantly, to prepare for their first experience in the workforce after graduating. That was for bachelor's degree, but a lot of this, I've written down 12 tips that I thought stood out from the night. That I think can apply to anyone if you're doing your master's degree, even someone who's entrenched in a elite sporting program as a PhD student, or if you're not studying at all but you're just working on building a online brand. Perhaps you've been working in the industry, maybe you own a studio, a gym, or you've been working in elite sport and you're wanting to develop your own side hustle and develop an online presence. These 12 tips will absolutely help you in developing your own personal brand. And I think the key takeaways from these steps is they're super actionable. You can start practicing them straight away. So that's the key. They're not just general tips. They're all practical, actionable tips, which are the ones that I noted down. So I'll go to those in a second. Firstly, in terms of the upcoming podcast, we've got Claudio Alteri's episode published this Wednesday. We discussed on that live podcast the difference between managing a national football team compared to a pro team. So for all those working in physical preparation, make sure to listen to Claudio's one. It was a real interesting insight in the differences in demands, and then how that influences decision making in terms of putting a program together. Our live chat for this week's on Thursday, the 14th of September at 4:30 p.m. with Andrew Lullum. And our bite-sized episode this week is with Alex Clark. So if you enjoyed that 10 minutes piece, make sure to search for Alex Clark on the Prepare Like a Pro podcast for the full episode. Our poll that I posted at the start of the week on LinkedIn was all about mental resilience training. So how important do you think mental training is for athletes' overall performance? And at the moment, it's quite outstanding that it's a yes, extremely important at 79%. Important, 16%, somewhat important, 2%, and not important at all, 2%. So clearly the industry, for those that voted, which was nearly 50 candidates so far 4 days into that poll, believe that mental training is very important for high performance training. So if you're an athlete listening to this and you haven't put any time or energy into your performance mindset, perhaps you want to start investing some time and energy researching on the topic. We've had a few sports psychologists on the podcast, so start there. Listen we had Matt McGregor on, Samantha McLeod, Jackie Lauder. So start listening to those episodes, and then from there, you might want to look at starting to work with a psychologist to prepare you for either the upcoming finals or over your pre-season, putting some practices in place to set you up and maximize the upcoming season for 2024. So underestimated how important that is. And of course, for coaches, keep researching in this space on how you can support a sports psych if they're at the club. If they're not at the club, how can we learn these methodologies and transfer it in the way that we coach to support and stretch our athletes. But we'll move into the 12 tips. So starting off with developing a personal brand, one of the resounding tips from the night was the importance of relationships, developing strong relationships, not being in a rush when you're in a new work experience to try and accelerate that process, but doing it properly from the start and making sure that you're building trust and respect with those that you're working with. It goes a long way. So from a personal brand point of view, the number one tip was focus on relationships. From a resume building point of view, it was quite popular advice to have a LinkedIn profile because it's searchable, as in when you search for someone's name, usually their LinkedIn profile will pop up pretty quickly on Google, but also it acts as an online resume. So there was some important tips with managing your social media presence. Be mindful on what you're liking, and commenting on, and how you're commenting on those posts, because a couple of speakers on the night, experts on the night, were talking about how they do research and monitor how people are conducting themselves online, and if they're liking the wrong post, perhaps something that might have been a sexist post or a racist post, that would look, of course, wouldn't help their cause in getting a job or getting an interview. So be mindful of what you're posting on, and making sure that you're looking after your brand online just as you would face to face. Number 3, network strategies. Another one to stay consistent with from day one. Don't rush the process. You don't want to try and build your networks over a really quick time. Focus on building strong connection with fewer people first, and your networks will no doubt over time grow from there as the good word goes out there. But equally, it also works both ways. If you've had a run-in with someone that you've worked in the past, the industry is very close, and people talked about how that can negatively impact your ability to get jobs elsewhere because people talk. So try as best you can to build positive relationships with people. It doesn't mean you can't challenge them, but the importance of making sure that you're really consistent in how you conduct yourself in the workplace, and that you are reliable, and that you respect the processes in place and where you sit. So networking was number 3. Number 4, interview techniques. Practice, practice, practice. Even if you think you're not for the role and you've got no chance whatsoever to get it, still throw your hat in the ring. It'd be great if you can make the interview process, because some of them can be quite intense and surprise you with the questions that you're asked. So for you to get comfortable in that situation takes practice. So making sure, even if you feel like you're not qualified, start practicing putting your resume together, asking questions on, if you don't make the interview, why didn't you make the interview stage? How can you make your CV stand out more? As well as, if you do interview, why didn't you get the job? How can you improve your interview process? So interview techniques, making sure that they're down pat and you're getting practice in early in your degree and your career. Number 5, online presence. Make sure it's credible. Don't be posting anything that you think could tarnish your brand, and also add value. Don't just post for the sake of posting. Make sure you're really adding value. A safe place that most of the practitioners, experts on the night at La Trobe Uni discuss was, you're pretty safe if you discuss your experience, and just be careful of giving your posting a opinion with a protocol if you haven't got research backed in that claim, because you can get caught out with people with way more experience and knowledge than you. So just be mindful of what you post from a prescriptive point of view, but if you just keep it safe and talk about your experience, anecdotal experience, and what you learnt from it, and how you're helping the industry, that's a pretty safe place. Mentors was number 6. Most people talked about the importance of leaning on their mentors over their career, and how important it is to find someone early. So in your placement, see if you can have a mentor that you can lean on and ask questions, and also make sure that you're giving back to that mentor and making their life easier by helping them out. And you only know what you know. So by that mentor has probably forgotten over their career more than you've learnt. So making sure that you're constantly asking questions about how you can get better. Number 7, that feeds on quite nicely, continuous learning. That's a mindset thing. So making sure you're not getting complacent and comfortable, and you're constantly striving to be better. Number 8, career goals. Dream big, and you never know where the industry may take you. So making sure you've got those big goals, those dream goals, and then, of course, your shorter, more realistic goals to get to that dream goal. Number 9, overcoming the imposter syndrome. Just simply understanding that it's normal. You're going to face it all the way through your career, because if you're doing a good job, you're going to get promoted to a new role that you may never have done before, and you're going to feel that imposter syndrome again. So just normalize it and get comfortable with the imposter syndrome. Number 10, strong work ethic. Build really good habits early and learn off those that are working off in the current role that you want to work in. Understand what they do in a typical day and a week to perform and make an impact in that role. Success leaves clues, so learn off those that you want to be and start practicing those habits. They're not just work habits, but they're life habits as well. Usually people get up early, they're training, they're prioritizing their own health and fitness, and they've got some hobbies outside of the workplace, and they've got a ability to be able to have a strong work ethic at their workplace, but also being able to switch off and have some time and energy at home as well. Number 11, personal growth. Good people tend to prosper in the industry of elite sport, so making sure you're also working on your people skills and constantly practicing on being a good person every day. Number 12, and the last one, being well researched and knowing how to not only filter from bad research to the good research, but also how to apply that research. And that's speaking to other practitioners, speaking about what they do in their environment, in their program, and how they've found applying that research has been from an effective point of view, and then ultimately filtering whether you think it will be relevant for your context and your situation. Last thing, wrap it up, workout for this week, a 6 5-minute aerobic power workout where you're either holding your 2K time trial pace or you're holding your 20-minute watt bike test pace with 3 minutes rest if you're quite fit. For those that are new and you're reconditioning, perhaps you've had a couple of weeks off because you're not playing the finals, start with 4 minutes, and then you might do that for one session this week, do another session next week and bring it down to 3 minutes 30, and then week 3, bring it down to 3 minutes while maintaining the same intensity, your testing pace. It's that time now. It's a great opportunity to build your critical speed and your aerobic capacity. So start training a little bit longer and building up your volume and exposures to these type of training. Thank you for tuning in. If you've got any questions or you're looking for a new off-season program, remember to click the link in our Instagram bio. You get a free 14-day trial. From a weights training point of view, we've got 3 off-season programs. We've got our gainers for those who want to put on muscle mass. We've got our strength and power program for those that want to maintain their weight but improve their max strength and their power. And then we've got an athlete junior development program for those new to strength and conditioning and want to work on developing good fundamental habits to help them reach the AFL. And then from a conditioning point of view, I break it into 2 different areas. Do you want to focus more on the endurance side, aerobic capacity work, improve your 2K time trial, improve your ability in 2024 to run out games, or to improve more your repeat speed, those high intensity efforts over the 4 quarters? So hit us up. If you've got any more questions, more than happy to jump on a phone call and explain all our options, including working with our AFL strength and conditioning coaches to following our online performance program. Direct message me, and I look forward to seeing you guys during the week.